You can sleep in the garage. The guest rooms are for family, my stepmom said at Christmas. I said, perfect. Then I slept in my Bentley while they slept on the mortgage I'd been covering. The bank's guest room policies were different. Hey, Reddit. My stepmom told me to sleep in the garage during Christmas because the guest rooms were for family. Little did she know, I'd been secretly paying their mortgage for 3 years. So I slept in my Bentley that night, stopped all payments the next morning, and watched their perfect Christmas turn into a foreclosure nightmare. Here's how it went down. I'm Blake, 32 male, and I've been the family ATM since I was old enough to have a bank account. My dad remarried when I was 8, and my stepmom Patricia brought 2 kids into the marriage, Stephanie, now 28, and Brandon, now 26. From day one, it was crystal clear that I was the outsider in this new family arrangement. Dad owns a small accounting firm in suburban Michigan. Does okay, nothing spectacular, but enough to maintain the appearance of upper-middle-class success. Patricia worked as a dental office manager before she married Dad, then conveniently decided to become a stay-at-home mom the second the ink dried on their marriage certificate. Growing up in that house was like living in a sitcom where I was the punchline. Stephanie got dance lessons, pageant entries, and a brand new car for her 16th birthday. Brandon got hockey equipment, travel team fees, and a gaming setup that cost more than some people's cars. I got hand-me-downs from Dad's clients' kids and a lecture about building character through adversity. When Stephanie wanted to go to this expensive private college for fashion merchandising, Dad and Patricia took out loans without blinking. When Brandon decided he wanted to study film production at an out-of-state school, they somehow found the money. When I got accepted to the State University for Engineering, Dad sat me down and explained that student loans would teach me financial responsibility. I worked 3 jobs through college: morning shift at a campus coffee shop, afternoon tutoring sessions for other engineering students, and weekend tech support for local businesses. Slept maybe 5 hours a night, lived on instant noodles and whatever free food I could find at campus events, and graduated with a 3.9 GPA and a job offer from a major automotive technology company. Meanwhile, Stephanie dropped out after 2 years to pursue social media influencing, and Brandon changed his major 4 times before finally graduating with a general studies degree that he's never used. But I'm the one who needed to learn financial responsibility. The really messed up part was how they treated my successes versus their failures. When I got my engineering degree and job offer, Patricia's response was, "Well, that's nice, dear. Brandon's working on his YouTube channel now. He's going to be huge." Brandon's YouTube channel had 847 subscribers and consisted mainly of him reviewing video games while eating fast food. Revolutionary content, truly. When I bought my first house at 25, a modest 3-bedroom ranch that I'd saved for years to afford, Patricia made a comment about how I was showing off and making Stephanie feel bad about still living at home. Stephanie was 21 at the time, working part-time at a boutique and spending more on clothes each month than I spent on groceries. But here's where it gets interesting. About 3 years ago, I got promoted to senior project manager. The pay bump was substantial. We're talking nearly doubling my salary. I was making around $160,000 a year, which in Michigan goes pretty far. Bought myself a used Bentley Continental GT because I'd always wanted one, invested heavily in retirement accounts, and still had plenty left over. Around the same time, I noticed Dad looking stressed. Really stressed. The kind of stress that ages you a decade in a year. Asked him about it during one of our rare one-on-one conversations, and he finally admitted they were drowning financially. The house, a 4-bedroom colonial in a nice subdivision, was mortgaged to the max. Patricia had insisted they buy it 10 years ago to keep up with standards, despite it being way above their budget. Between that mortgage, Stephanie's student loans that they'd co-signed for, Brandon's never-ending education costs, and Patricia's spending habits, they were about 3 months from foreclosure. Dad looked broken. This man who'd raised me to be independent and financially responsible had made every wrong money decision possible for the last 15 years. But he was still my dad, and I couldn't watch him lose everything. So I made him an offer. I'd cover the mortgage payment, all of it, until they could get back on their feet. $2,400 a month, every month, direct deposit to their mortgage company. But there were conditions. Patricia and the kids couldn't know. I didn't want them seeing me as a personal bank account more than they already did. Dad agreed immediately, probably too proud to admit how desperate he really was. That was 3 years ago. 36 months of mortgage payments, $86,400 total. And not once did Patricia or her kids thank me, because not once did they know. Instead, I got to watch Patricia renovate the kitchen I was paying for, telling everyone about the bonus Dad got at work. I got to see Stephanie host Instagram photo shoots in the backyard I was financing. Caption, blessed to have grown up in such a beautiful home. I got to listen to Brandon complain about his small bedroom in the house I was keeping over their heads. But I kept paying, every month like clockwork, because Dad was family, and family helps each other out. That's what I thought anyway. Turns out, that philosophy only works if everyone's actually family. The breaking point came this Christmas. Patricia had sent out a group text in November about Christmas plans. Big family gathering, everyone sleeping over Christmas Eve, opening presents Christmas morning, the whole traditional family experience. She specifically mentioned they'd renovated the guest rooms and were excited to host everyone. I RSVP'd that I'd be there. Hadn't missed a family Christmas yet, despite the barely concealed hostility from Patricia and her kids. Dad always seemed disappointed when I'd leave on Christmas night, so I figured staying over would be nice. Drove up Christmas Eve in my Bentley, trunk full of carefully chosen gifts. Got Stephanie a designer handbag she'd been posting about. Brandon a new camera lens for his content creation. Patricia a spa package. And Dad a vintage watch he'd mentioned admiring years ago. Spent about $2,000 total on their gifts, because that's what you do for family. Pulled into the driveway around 6 p.m. The house looked amazing. Patricia had gone all out with decorations. Every window glowing, wreaths on everything, massive tree visible through the front window. Picture-perfect holiday scene. Stephanie opened the door, took one look at my car, and immediately said, "Wow, must be nice to waste money on expensive cars while some of us are struggling." This from the woman who just posted about her weekend trip to Miami with friends. Patricia came bustling over, air kissed near my cheek without actually touching me, and grabbed the gift bags from my hands. "Oh, you shouldn't have. Let me just put these under the tree with the real family's gifts." The real family's gifts. Not even trying to hide it anymore. Dad was in the kitchen, looking uncomfortable but not saying anything. He never said anything when Patricia made her little comments. 30 years of marriage had apparently taught him that keeping the peace meant letting his wife treat his son like hired help. Dinner was the usual awkward affair. Patricia had made her famous prime rib, and everyone raved about it like she'd invented beef. Stephanie talked endlessly about her social media metrics. Brandon explained his new content strategy that was definitely going to make him viral this time. Patricia beamed at her children like they were splitting atoms instead of wasting oxygen. When I mentioned that my team had just secured a major contract with a European automotive manufacturer, Patricia literally changed the subject mid-sentence. "That's interesting, dear, but Brandon, tell everyone about your new editing software." After dinner, we did the whole gift opening thing. Stephanie opened her designer bag and said, "Oh, this is last season's style, but I guess it's the thought that counts." Brandon barely acknowledged the camera lens before going back to his phone. Patricia looked at the spa package like I'd handed her a coupon for an oil change. Dad loved the watch, though. His eyes actually got misty when he saw it. "This is the same model my father wore," he said quietly. "Thank you, son." Patricia immediately jumped in. "Well, we can't all afford expensive vintage watches. Some of us have to budget for actual necessities." The irony of that statement, coming from a woman whose house I was literally paying for, was not lost on me. Around 10 p.m., people started getting ready for bed. That's when Patricia made her announcement. "Okay, everyone, bedroom assignments. Stephanie, you're in the blue guest room. Brandon, you're in the green guest room. The master suite is obviously ours." I waited. She'd mentioned 4 bedrooms, and I'd just heard 3. Where am I sleeping?" I asked. Patricia looked at me like I'd asked her to solve a calculus problem. "Oh, right. Well, the guest rooms are for family, obviously. You can sleep in the garage. There's an old couch out there from when we renovated. Should be fine for one night." The garage. She wanted me to sleep in the unheated Michigan garage in December when it was 19 degrees outside. Dad finally spoke up. "Patricia, that's not really... The guest rooms are for family," she repeated firmly, looking at Dad with that expression that meant the conversation was over. "Blake's a grown man. He'll be fine for one night." Stephanie was smirking. Brandon wasn't even paying attention, already heading upstairs to his assigned guest room. Dad looked like he wanted to say something, but settled for an apologetic shrug. I stood there in the living room I'd been financing for 3 years, looking at the Christmas tree surrounded by presents I'd mostly paid for, in a house that would have been foreclosed on years ago without me, and something just clicked. "Perfect," I said calmly. "The garage sounds great." Patricia looked surprised that I wasn't arguing. "Oh, well, good. There should be some blankets out there somewhere." I grabbed my overnight bag, walked through the kitchen, and headed to the garage. Dad followed me out, looking uncomfortable. "Son, I can talk to her. Don't worry about it, Dad. I'm fine. It's just, she's very particular about the guest rooms. and with Stephanie and Brandon being here so rarely now. I said I'm fine. I kept my voice level. The garage will work perfectly. He nodded, clearly relieved he didn't have to actually stand up to his wife. Well, Merry Christmas. See you in the morning for breakfast. Merry Christmas, Dad. He went back inside and I was alone in the garage. He was right about the couch. There was an old sectional pushed against the wall, covered in dust and probably mouse droppings. No heat, no blankets visible anywhere, and I could see my breath in the air. I looked at the couch, then at my Bentley, and made my decision. Grabbed my overnight bag, climbed into the back seat of my car, started the engine, and cranked the heated seats to maximum. The Bentley had better heating than most houses anyway. Reclined the seat back, covered myself with my coat, and actually had the most peaceful night I'd had at their house in years. But while I was lying there in my luxury car that cost more than most people's annual salary, parked in a garage attached to a house I'd been secretly financing, something became crystal clear. I was done. Not angry done. Not emotional done. Just done. Like finishing a book you'd been forcing yourself to read, and finally admitting you don't care how it ends. Pulled out my phone and started making a list. Every payment I'd made over the last 3 years. Every time Patricia had made a snide comment about my wasteful spending while living in a house I paid for. Every time Stephanie or Brandon had complained about their hard lives while I worked 60-hour weeks to keep a roof over their heads. Then, I did something I probably should have done 3 years ago. I opened my banking app and scheduled the cancellation of the automatic mortgage payment, effective immediately. The January payment that was supposed to process in a week? Not happening. February? Nope. March and beyond? Good luck. Around 2 a.m., I got a notification that the cancellation was confirmed. The mortgage payment that had been automatically drafting from my account every month for 36 months was officially stopped. Slept like a baby after that. Best Christmas Eve sleep I'd had in years. Christmas morning came with Patricia banging on the garage door around 8 a.m. Blake, breakfast, don't be late. I climbed out of my Bentley, stretched, and walked into the house. The family was gathered around the dining table. Dad at the head, Patricia to his right, Stephanie and Brandon on either side looking half asleep. Patricia took one look at me and wrinkled her nose. Did you actually sleep in your car? The couch in the garage was filthy, I explained pleasantly. And since the guest rooms were for family only, the car seemed like the logical choice. Very comfortable, actually. Heated seats, climate control, much better than a dusty couch. Stephanie laughed. You slept in your car? That's so pathetic. Is it? I asked. I thought it was practical. Good thing I bought a comfortable car. Good thing you waste money on expensive cars while people are struggling, Brandon muttered. Patricia started serving breakfast, her famous Christmas morning casserole. Well, you're here now. Let's eat before it gets cold. We ate mostly in silence. Dad tried to make conversation about football, but nobody was really interested. After breakfast, we moved to the living room for more gift opening. Extended family was coming over later, so this was the immediate family round. I'd gotten some decent gifts. Dad gave me a nice set of tools for my garage. Stephanie got me a gift card to a chain restaurant, probably the cheapest one she could find. Brandon got me nothing, claimed he forgot. Patricia got me a pair of discount store socks. Meanwhile, they opened presents from each other that were clearly expensive. Stephanie got a new laptop from Dad and Patricia. Brandon got a gaming console. Patricia got jewelry from Dad that probably cost a month's salary. The extended family started arriving around 11 a.m. Aunts, uncles, cousins, the whole crew. Patricia's sister Linda showed up with her family, and Patricia immediately started bragging about the house renovations. We just finished the kitchen remodel, she was saying. Quartz countertops, new appliances, the works. Cost a fortune, but it was worth it. How did you afford that? Linda asked. I thought you were having money troubles. Oh, that was years ago. We've been doing much better. Actually, we're considering a vacation home in Florida. Just looking at properties. I was sitting in the corner, watching this performance. A vacation home in Florida, while I'd been paying their mortgage for 3 years to keep them from losing this one. Dad noticed me watching and looked away quickly. He knew. He knew I was hearing all this, and he knew exactly how wrong it was. Around 1 p.m., after everyone had eaten and the house was full of wrapping paper and noise, I pulled Dad aside. We need to talk. Outside. We went out to the back deck. It was freezing, but I wanted privacy. I canceled the mortgage payment, I said without preamble. His face went white. What? The automatic payment I've been making for 3 years. I canceled it this morning. The January payment won't go through. Blake, you can't. I can, and I did. I'm done, Dad. I slept in the garage last night because your wife decided I'm not family. The guest rooms are for family, remember? Well, if I'm not family enough for a guest room, I'm not family enough to pay your mortgage. He looked panicked. But we can't afford. Not my problem anymore. You chose your wife over your son every single day for the last 25 years. You let her treat me like garbage while I literally kept a roof over your heads. So congratulations. You can figure out how to keep that roof there yourself. Please, he said, and I'd never heard him sound so desperate. Just give me time to figure something out. Don't do this during the holidays. You mean like how Patricia made me sleep in the garage during the holidays? That kind of timing? He didn't have an answer for that. I want you to know something, I continued. Every month for 3 years, I transferred $2,400 to your mortgage company. That's $86,400 total. Almost $90,000 to keep your house from foreclosure. And last night, your wife made me sleep in the garage because the guest rooms were for family. He was actually crying now. I know she was wrong. I should have said something. Yes, you should have. 25 years of should-haves, Dad. But you never did. So now you get to explain to Patricia why the bank is suddenly calling about missed payments. And when she asks how you've been paying the mortgage for the last 3 years, you get to tell her the truth, that your son, the one she treats like an unwanted stepchild, has been bankrolling your entire life. Blake, please. Merry Christmas, Dad. I walked back inside, grabbed my coat and overnight bag, and headed for the door. Patricia intercepted me in the foyer. Leaving so soon? We're about to do Christmas dinner. I'm good, thanks. Places to be. Well, don't be a stranger. We love having you around. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd spent 25 years making sure I knew I wasn't really part of her family. Who'd put her kids through college on loans while telling me to figure it out myself. Who'd just made me sleep in an unheated garage rather than give me a guest room. I'll see you around, Patricia. Got in my Bentley, started the engine, and drove away from that house for what I suspected might be the last time. The next week was quiet. No calls from Dad, no messages from Patricia or her kids. Just blessed silence while I enjoyed my actual Christmas break with people who actually appreciated me. My girlfriend Emma and her family, who'd invited me to their New Year's celebration. Emma knew some of the family drama but not the extent of it. When I told her about sleeping in my car in the garage, her jaw dropped. They made you sleep where? Technically, I chose to sleep in my car. The alternative was a dusty couch. But they have guest rooms. For family only, apparently. You are family. Not according to Patricia. Emma was quiet for a moment. What did you do? I stopped paying their mortgage. You were paying their mortgage? That's when I explained the whole thing. The 3 years of payments, the near foreclosure, the agreement with Dad, the secrecy. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she just hugged me. You're a good person, she said. Better than they deserve. Not sure about that. Pretty sure a good person wouldn't stop paying someone's mortgage. A good person wouldn't enable people who treat them like garbage. There's a difference. She had a point. The real fireworks started in mid-January. Got a call from Dad at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. Didn't pick up. He called again. And again. Left voicemails that progressively got more desperate. Blake, please call me back. The bank is calling about the mortgage. Son, we need to talk. This is serious. Blake, they're threatening foreclosure. Please, we can work this out. I didn't call back. Instead, I went to work, managed my projects, and enjoyed my life without the constant drain of supporting people who'd made it clear I wasn't really family. Patricia called next. First time she'd called my personal number in probably 5 years. Blake, we need to discuss something. Your father tells me you've been helping with the mortgage? I let the silence stretch out. Well, apparently there's been some mix-up with the payments. The bank is saying we're behind, but your father insists everything should be fine. Can you clarify what's going on? The payments stopped, I said simply. Stopped? What do you mean stopped? I mean I'm not making them anymore. I stopped the automatic payment on Christmas Day. More silence. Then, you've been paying our mortgage? For 3 years, $2,400 a month. Never missed a payment until now. I could practically hear her brain trying to process this. But, why would you? I don't understand. Dad was about to lose the house. I offered to help until you got back on your feet. That was 3 years ago. Apparently, you never got back on your feet. But we didn't know. If you'd known, you would have what? Treated me better? Funny how that works. As long as you didn't know I was paying for your lifestyle, you could keep treating me like an outsider. But now that you know, suddenly it matters? That's not fair. We had no idea you were struggling financially to help us. I wasn't struggling. I make enough that $2,400 a month barely dented my budget. But that's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is that you made me sleep in the garage, Patricia, on Christmas Eve, because the guest rooms were for family. You've spent 25 years making sure I knew I wasn't really part of your family. So I decided you were right. Blake, you're being ridiculous. That was just, we didn't have enough rooms for everyone. You had 2 guest rooms and 3 guests. The math works out fine unless one of those guests doesn't count as family. She was getting angry now. So you're going to let us lose our house because your feelings got hurt? That's incredibly selfish. Selfish. I paid your mortgage for 3 years. I think I've been pretty generous, actually. But generosity has limits, especially when it's not appreciated. We didn't know to appreciate it. And whose fault is that? I kept it secret because I didn't want you treating me like a personal bank account. Turns out, you treated me like garbage anyway. So what was the point? She hung up on me. Brandon called an hour later. Dude, what the heck? Mom's freaking out saying we might lose the house. Yep. Can't you just keep paying the mortgage? Like you have been? Nope. But where are we supposed to go? Not my problem, Brandon. Figure it out like us non-family members have to. That's cold, man. We're your family. Really? Because on Christmas Eve, your mom made it pretty clear that I'm not part of the family. Can't have it both ways. He hung up too. Stephanie texted instead of calling, I hope you're happy ruining Christmas and destroying our family. I replied, I didn't ruin Christmas. I just stopped paying for it. She blocked me. The calls kept coming. Dad tried every few days, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. Patricia alternated between angry messages and attempts at guilt tripping. Even Patricia's sister Linda called, trying to mediate. Blake, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. Patricia's very sorry about the guest room thing. Is she sorry about the 25 years before that? Well, blended families are complicated. Not that complicated. Either I'm family or I'm not. She made her choice clear. Linda tried the practical approach. Okay, but regardless of your feelings, you can't just let them lose their house. Where will they go? Linda, I paid their mortgage for 3 years. $86,000. They never thanked me because they never knew, but they also never questioned how they were suddenly able to afford their house. They just kept spending on renovations and vacations and designer handbags. So you'll forgive me if I'm not particularly worried about their housing situation. That's a lot of money to just throw away. I didn't throw it away. I helped my father when he needed it. But the deal was always that it would be temporary until they got back on their feet. 3 years later, Patricia's planning a vacation home in Florida. They're not on their feet. They're on my back. And I'm done carrying them. By February, the bank foreclosure notices had started. Dad sent me a photo of one, hoping it would guilt me into resuming payments. It didn't. I'd made my decision, and I was sticking to it. What I didn't expect was what happened next. Emma and I were having dinner at this Italian place we liked when my phone rang. Unknown number, Michigan area code. Against my better judgment, I answered. Blake, this is Maureen from First National Bank. I'm calling regarding the property at 2847 Maple Ridge Drive. That was Dad and Patricia's address. I'm not the property owner, I said carefully. Yes, I'm aware. However, you're listed as an authorized contact on the account, and we've been unable to reach Mr. and Mrs. Harrison. The account is currently 3 months past due, and we're required to begin foreclosure proceedings. I was hoping you might be able to help us contact them. They're screening your calls, I said. Have you tried showing up in person? We have. No one answered the door, though we could see lights on inside. Look, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but the property has actually been in trouble for years. We were on the verge of foreclosure 3 years ago before someone started making substantial payments directly to the mortgage company. Those payments kept the account current until January of this year. That someone was me. Well, look, I really can't discuss account details with you unless you're listed as a... I'm not asking for details. I just want you to know that those payments were always meant to be temporary. I'm not resuming them. Do what you need to do with the foreclosure. I understand. Just so you're aware, the property will likely go to auction in April if the account isn't brought current. They'll have until then to work something out. Thanks for letting me know. After I hung up, Emma was staring at me. April? They're really going to lose the house? Looks like it. How do you feel about that? I thought about it. Honestly, nothing. I don't feel anything. They made their choice, and I made mine. Your dad hasn't tried to fix things? Apologize? Anything? Voicemails mostly. Lots of please call me back, but nothing actually addressing the problem. He's sorry they're losing the house, not sorry for how I was treated. That's sad. Yeah, but it's not my responsibility to fix it. Emma reached across the table and squeezed my hand. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Boundaries are healthy, even with family. Especially with family. March brought more escalation. Patricia apparently got my work email address somehow and sent this long, rambling message about how I was destroying their lives over a simple misunderstanding. And how could I live with myself knowing I was making them homeless? I didn't respond. Brandon showed up at my house. I don't know how he got my address, but I came home from work one day to find him sitting on my front steps. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. Blake, come on. This is our childhood home. You're really going to let them lose it? Your childhood home. I was never really part of that home, remember? Guest rooms are for family. That was Mom being stupid. You can't hold a grudge forever. I'm not holding a grudge. I'm just not paying your mortgage anymore. Big difference. But you've been paying it. What changed? I got demoted from family to garage. That changed things. He stood up, trying to look intimidating. He was bigger than me. Thought that might matter. You're being an entitled jerk. We're family, and family helps each other. Family also treats each other with basic respect. Your mom couldn't even give me a guest room. So what? You want an apology? Fine. I'm sorry Mom made you sleep in the garage. There. Happy? Now will you help us? That's not an apology, Brandon. That's you trying to manipulate me into fixing your problems. And it's not going to work. Then screw you, he said, finally showing his real feelings. I hope you're happy when we're living in a motel somewhere. I won't be happy or sad. I'll be indifferent, which is probably the healthiest thing I've felt about your family in years. He left, and I never saw him again. April came faster than I expected. Dad sent one final voicemail, and this one was different. He wasn't making excuses or trying to manipulate. He just sounded tired. Blake, this is your father. The house is being auctioned next week. We're moving in with Patricia's sister. I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not standing up for you more. I'm sorry for letting Patricia treat you the way she did. I'm sorry for not being the father you deserved. You were right about everything. I chose the easy path instead of the right path, and I lost my son because of it. I don't expect you to forgive me or help us. I just wanted you to know that I understand why you did what you did. Take care of yourself, son. I saved that voicemail. Might listen to it again someday. Might delete it. Haven't decided yet. The auction happened on a Tuesday in mid-April. Emma asked if I wanted to drive by, see what happened. I said no. Didn't need to see it to know it was happening. Got a text from Linda later that day. The house sold. They got enough to pay off the mortgage and walked away with about $20,000. They're staying with us temporarily. I hope you're satisfied. I didn't respond, but I thought about it. Was I satisfied? Not really. I wasn't satisfied or dissatisfied. I just was. The whole situation had happened, and now it was over, and my life would continue exactly as it had been. Except lighter. Definitely lighter. A few weeks later, I was at the grocery store when I ran into someone I never expected to see again. My childhood friend Jake, who'd been friends with all of us growing up before his family moved to Colorado. Blake! Man, I heard about what happened with your dad's house. That's rough. You heard about that? Yeah. I'm still friends with Brandon on social media. He's been posting about how you screwed them over, destroyed the family, all that dramatic stuff. Of course he has. For what it's worth, I never bought it. I remember how Patricia treated you growing up. She was never subtle about the favoritism. That surprised me. You noticed that? Everyone noticed. It was super obvious. We used to talk about it. Me and the other guys from the neighborhood. How Brandon and Stephanie got everything while you got nothing. We just figured you were dealing with it somehow. I was dealing with it by paying their mortgage, I said with a laugh. I heard about that too. That's insane, man. 3 years of payments? After how they treated you. I was helping my dad, not them. Your dad let them treat you like that. He's not innocent in this. Jake was right, but it still stung to hear. Anyway, Jake continued, I'm back in town for work, might stick around. We should grab food sometime, catch up properly. And for what it's worth, you did the right thing. Family doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. We exchanged numbers, and I left that grocery store feeling something I hadn't felt in months about the whole situation. Validated. Someone else had seen it. Someone else knew I wasn't crazy or oversensitive or holding grudges over nothing. Patricia had actually been terrible. Stephanie and Brandon had actually been spoiled. Dad had actually failed me, and I'd actually been justified in walking away. That night, Emma asked me if I had any regrets. About stopping the payments? No. About any of it? I thought about that. I regret that it came to that point. I regret that I paid their mortgage for 3 years and never got any appreciation because they didn't know. I regret that Dad couldn't stand up to Patricia even once in 25 years. But do I regret my actual decision to stop? No. Would you ever reconcile with them? With Dad, maybe. If he ever actually apologizes for everything, not just the end. If he acknowledges that he failed me for years, not just in that one moment. With Patricia and her kids? No. That bridge isn't just burned. It's demolished. Salt in the earth, nuclear wasteland levels have gone. That's fair, Emma said. You deserve people who treat you like you matter. That's all I ever wanted. 6 months after the auction, I got a letter in the mail. Return address I didn't recognize, but the handwriting was Dad's. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a letter. Blake, this is the first installment. I got a second job and I'm using every extra penny to pay you back. I know $5,000 isn't much against $86,400, but it's a start. I'll send more as I can. I'm not asking for forgiveness or a relationship. I just want you to know that I understand what you did for us, and I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to see it. Patricia and I are separated. We're living in different places, trying to figure out if our marriage can survive this. Stephanie and Brandon are working full-time jobs for the first time in their lives. We're all learning what it means to stand on our own feet, something you figured out at 18. I failed you as a father. I chose comfort over courage, peace over principles. You deserved better, and I'm sorry I didn't give it to you. You don't have to cash this check. You don't have to respond to this letter. I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see what you did, what you sacrificed, and how we treated you in return. And I'm ashamed. Take care of yourself, son. I hope you're happy. Love, Dad. I sat on my couch holding that letter for a long time. Emma read it over my shoulder, her hand on my back. What are you going to do? She asked. I'm going to cash the check, and I'm going to wait and see if there's a second installment. If he's serious about this, if he keeps sending money and keeps working on himself, maybe someday we can have a relationship. But it'll be a new relationship, built on different terms. And if he doesn't keep sending money, then I'll know he was just trying to ease his guilt. Either way, I'll be fine. I deposited the check the next day. And the month after that, another envelope arrived. Another $5,000, another short note about his progress. The month after that, same thing. It's been almost a year now since that Christmas when I slept in my Bentley in Patricia's garage. Dad sent me $30,000 so far. He's also sent regular letters, not asking for anything, just updating me on his life and continuing to apologize. Patricia apparently moved to Florida with Stephanie. Brandon's working as a manager at a sporting goods store, and according to Dad, actually doing well at it. Dad's living in a small apartment, working 2 jobs, and going to counseling to work through everything that happened. We've had coffee twice. Real conversations where he listened instead of making excuses. It's not the relationship we had before, and it's not what most people would call father-son closeness, but it's honest, which is more than we ever had. As for Patricia and her kids, I blocked them on everything. Heard through Dad that Patricia tried to reach out a few times, wanting to rebuild bridges. I told Dad to tell her I wasn't interested. She made her choices, I made mine, and neither of us can undo what happened. The weirdest part is how much lighter I feel. For 25 years, I'd been carrying this weight. The weight of not being good enough, not being real family, not mattering as much as Stephanie and Brandon. When I finally put that weight down, when I finally stopped trying to earn love from people who'd never give it, everything got easier. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.